So here we have Brett Florens on our new PHLASH Worx YouTube channel. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thanks. Thanks for having me. Thanks for taking out the time to have this chat. It's really cool to be here. Thank you.
I think we should say thank you to you from your busy day.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. So, where in the world are you? What are you doing there? Is there anything exciting going on with you in the photography world at the minute?
Well, yeah, right now I'm in Amsterdam. I live between here and South Africa, so I have a home here in Amsterdam and back home in South Africa.
Cool.
And kind of have a perpetual summer thing going on, which is it's cool, and it sounds a little more glamorous than what it actually is. But yeah, it's nice to be able to work in the two hemispheres. So yeah, that's pretty cool. What's exciting that's happening with me photographically? Well, we've got kind of convention season upon us with the photography show in Birmingham in a couple of weeks' time, and then there's another convention here in the Netherlands that I'm speaking at called Professional Imaging. So I'm involved in those two, and then at the end of this month, March, I have a really nice high-profile wedding in Dubai. Yeah, which I'm recording. Filming me working at the wedding, so it's basically you are following me the whole wedding. We have already done the engagement session, did that in November, I think it was, or maybe December, and yeah, recorded all of that. So that'll be my new DVD.
Oh, so that would be like a tuition DVD then?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically the whole. Yeah, you're watching me work the whole time, and I'm mic'd up and I'm speaking to you through the wedding. It will be my second one, which is one wedding. And this one, the twist will be that it's one wedding destination Dubai. So, with the advent of the internet and, just being able to travel wherever you can has allowed photographers the opportunity to shoot destination work. And people who have destination weddings, or even people who are not traveling for their weddings, can get photographers from wherever they like.
Yeah.
From all over the world. Yeah. So instead of your market being very, very limited, you can access people all over the world. So yeah, the reason why I'm filming this particular wedding is because I'd like to get people more involved in destination weddings, to expand their portfolios, to expand their expertise, and also to see what is involved. Talking about things like the visas and finding an assistant in a foreign country, shooting permissions.
They're the things you don't think about, aren't they?
Yeah, renting gear. How do you get all your gear over there? And then you could work out. If I take overload luggage, it could be more expensive than hiring gear when you get there.
Yeah.
And then it's hard to find places to hire gear and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm quite involved in that. Writing a book about it as well.
So, I was going to ask when your next book was.
Yeah. Well, the next one's actually out pretty much this week. A Shot in the Dark. Yeah, that's out on Amazon. Yeah, I mean, the publisher said that they've got copies with them right now, but if I look on Amazon, it still says pre-order, so maybe they still need to just get them to the warehouses. But yeah, it's pretty soon, so I'm very excited about that. Yeah.
Is this about nighttime shooting?
Yeah, shooting in low light.
Because I've worked with you on low light photography before, and I'm lucky enough that I've got some of your photography in my portfolio, and yeah, you're pretty damn good at that.
Well. Yeah, I think that if you practice something, then you do become, good at it. And I think that people need to practice their craft quite a bit more. And it's not as scary as you think. The low light capabilities of the cameras these days have enabled us to shoot pretty much in the dark. So, just go out there and practice. And practice when it's not important. Practice when it's not a gig, not somebody's wedding or a commercial shoot that you're doing. Practice at home with models or with your husband or wife or your boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. But as soon as you gain that confidence, then it just becomes so much easier. It's yeah.
Awesome.
So can I take us back to your beginning?
All
Because
right.
you actually have, and you told me you've got quite an interesting start to photography. So could you share that with us?
Well, it's not your traditional way of getting into photography, and the career that I've had isn't really your stereotypical. My dad gave me a box brownie when I was 5 years old. It's not one of those stories. And there's an interesting twist to that too, coming up in the summer, which I'm really excited about. Basically, I started off as a police photographer in the riot unit during the apartheid era of South Africa's
I found that really interesting.
dark past. Yeah, it was really a baptism of fire. At the time, statistically, South Africa was the most dangerous place on earth, worse than Bosnia in terms of per capita deaths. The crime rate is pretty high now, but it really was an absolute war zone. We were picking up 10, 12 bodies a day just before the elections in 1994. And a post became available in the riot unit to become the photographer. And nobody really jumped at the opportunity because...
Understandable.
Well, it was really because if you're photographing for evidential purposes, then, the people who are committing the crimes, you're going to be a target for them. And then also, if you're videoing or photographing political demonstrations or riots, then the other policemen, your colleagues, could be, maybe doing their duties a little bit too enthusiastically, and you're filming that, so they're not happy with you filming. So nobody's really your friend. So I think that was mainly the reason that they didn't get too many volunteers for that. But then they said that you get your own vehicle, you get a car. I was like, that's cool, that's me. I mean,
how long ago was that, Brett?
Oh my gosh, you're showing my age
Sorry.
now. That was in 1992.
Wow, okay.
25 years ago.
How did you transition into what you do now? How was that? What prompted that?
Well, I think that part is very similar to the way some people transition, where they are known to be sort of quite handy with a camera. So friends and family ask them to start doing things. Ask them to start photographing events and things like family portraits, weddings, that kind of thing. So that's really how I got into it, where other policemen were getting married, and I started shooting other policemen's weddings, and it kind of evolved from there until it got to a point where when the media left South Africa in sort of just after the elections, everything's wonderful and we all love each other. The media disappeared off to Haiti because that's when the next crisis was happening around the world. I couldn't sell my pictures to Reuters, Associated Press, Newsweek. So suddenly I had half the income that I had, prior to, when the action was still happening. So for me, it was really my ticket out of being a policeman. I decided that I had to move full time into photography because being a policeman in South Africa is very, very low paid. So I knew that I couldn't survive on that salary much longer. So that's where I moved into families. And I worked pretty hard at getting that kind of work, going cold calling, walking around the neighborhood, putting letters in people's post boxes, going to the local high school and photographing sporting events, for example, like hockey or water polo or rugby, cricket, and pretty much photographing the kids playing sport off to the 1 hour lab. You must remember that we were shooting film then. Off to the 1 hour lab.
I forget.
Get the film processed and then pretty much walk around selling pictures like a hawker back to the parents. And that, it worked for me. And I started getting a name through that and, the snowball effect. And then I got into catalog work, which was really cool. I started shooting for brands like Quicksilver and Roxy and Playtex and Wonderbra. So that was pretty cool. And then, the transition from shooting middle market weddings to high-end weddings came around in about 2004, 2005, when the digital revolution started to take over. Because I realized very quickly that, and some people might disagree with me on this one, but it ended up being a race to the bottom, where there are so many photographers just entering the market, and there are some good photographers charging very low rates. And to compete with that in the middle market or the lower end of the market it's very, very difficult. So I decided to elevate my brand, completely rebranded, and started targeting high-end luxury weddings. And fortunately, that worked for me. And now I'm in a position where I'm shooting some really cool weddings in some really nice destinations, and it's worked out really nicely for me.
Awesome.
I love this story. I found it really interesting. When you told me about it, I was like, you did what?
Well, it is. If I sort of remove myself from it and look at it objectively, then I look at it and go, well, that is a pretty cool story. And I actually approached Loxley Color, the printers, as well as another company which is going to be printing the black and whites. But I still have all my negatives from when I was a policeman.
Wow.
And I'm actually going to be doing an exhibition in the summer where I have like really horrible, dodgy images, black and white hand printed, up against color digitally printed images from weddings. And it's going to be called Brett Florens in Love and War.
Oh, wow. Where's that going to be? Where's the exhibition?
Well, we're going to start it off in Amsterdam because I think the contrast and the depth to it is the right place. I think Amsterdam's the right place sort of culturally and from an artistic point of view, because I've got some really horrible images. And for people to visually see that, I think that I'd like to test the water here first. But because it's a photographic exhibition, I can pretty much take it anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So, really excited about that. And hopefully, it gets people talking, because it is such a contrast. It's the complete antithesis. I mean, it's like the worst day of your life. And then the best day of your life. It's like when your family's been wiped out, 8 people killed in your family, in your homestead, then that's pretty much the worst day of your life. So the contrast to being on a wedding is absolutely phenomenal.
Wow. So, looking back, would you have done anything differently in your career, do you think, or are you pretty happy with what you've done up to this point? Or is there anything that you think you'd probably change?
I think the timing was right in my career. I'm very happy that I did shoot film to start off with, because I think that learning your craft shooting film enabled me to understand photographically how things work. I just think that shooting 50, 60 weddings a year, I would like to have started to target a higher end market a little earlier. Okay. That being said, maybe just in terms of me and my maturity and my personality, I think maybe the timing was right. So I'm happy with the way it's panned out and with the way things are sitting right now.
It has panned out pretty well, isn't it? You've done very good.
I'm stoked. I'm happy. Yeah, it's cool.
Awesome.
And I'm enjoying the teaching aspect as well. There's a photographer friend of mine in New York. His name is Anthony Friend, a South African who is now shooting in New York. And he told me about how Japanese theater, there's something in Japanese theater where when you turn 42, I think it is, then you're obliged to teach and you're obliged to give back to the industry. And I think that now's my time to give back to the industry and understand that if the whole industry is elevated, then it actually benefits me as well. When I first started teaching, because I was one of the first educators in South Africa, there was a lot of pushback and a lot of people were not happy with the fact that I was giving away trade secrets.
Yeah.
Right.
But, with this world of information, you can get nothing's a secret anymore.
Exactly.
So what I think was important and what I think was fundamental to understand is that if you're teaching somebody, you're not actually creating competition. because you are your own unique brand. So it's really important for educators to understand that. And I've watched education, progress and become a saturated market as well lately. And I've been on other people's workshops as well. And I just want educators to give as much information as possible so that we can elevate the whole industry so that we can all benefit,
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So my question to you is, what is the one thing that you absolutely love about photography? What do you think that really gives me a passion for it?
Well, it's probably more the psychological aspect of it. I really enjoy the responsibility that I get given by the client to tell their story with my narrative, because I have the power to control the way the day operates, control how people, how I pose people, the lighting that I use to tell a specific story. And, it's quite a strange thing because weddings, pretty much it's the same story. It's two people getting together and they go through pretty much the same motions, and it's across all faiths as well. There's a ceremony, there's a union of two people in front of their friends and family, and there's a celebration. Now, that happens week after week after week, but it's our responsibility, or it's our job to tell the story of that wedding. And there might not necessarily be a story, so we have to create a story. And I really enjoy the fact that clients trust me to tell their story in my way. So it's a little deep for me because I'm not really a deep person, but I enjoy the fact that I get that responsibility. And then again, you can go even deeper. So maybe I am a deep person, but yeah. I walked into somebody's house once who I didn't know, and it was the first time I'd walked into their home, and I saw a photograph that I had taken in their home displayed on the wall. And I said to them, where is this photograph from? Where did you get this photograph? And she said, oh, that's a picture of my niece. And I was like, oh, wow. It's so amazing for me to be able to bring happiness and positive vibes to people that I don't even know.
Yeah.
And in some strange, deep way, there's a piece of me in people's homes that is associated with happiness.
Yeah.
So I like that as well. I really like the fact that when people look at wedding photographs, family photographs, even commercial work, there's an element of me in those images. And yeah, I think that's pretty cool that, there's a ripple effect that you're not only shooting for the client, you're shooting for the grandparents, the friends, the family, and it's got this whole ripple effect where, what you're doing is being seen by other people and bringing happiness to other people.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Looking at it.
Pretty deep, right?
Yeah, considering you're not a deep person.
Yeah, you've just got really deep.
Cool. So if you weren't actually a photographer, this is a bit of an out there question, but if you weren't actually a photographer, what do you think you'd be doing right now instead?
What would you love to do, I guess, as well?
Oh, what would I love to be doing? Oh my gosh. I'd love to have been a model. I'd love to.
Maybe you get model jealousy when you're taking pictures.
Yeah, I think that also comes from being a photographer.
Yeah.
I don't think if I wasn't a photographer, I think if I wasn't a photographer, I wouldn't have thought about that.
Yeah.
But I would like to have been involved in that industry, somehow involved in that. And really, it doesn't mean that I think that I'm anything special, because you can be a model that is selling toothpaste or selling hair gel or something like that. I'm not talking about for the good looks side of things. I'm talking about just being involved in that industry, understanding how it works in terms of the clothing brands, going to catalog and yeah, I enjoy that. I think that's pretty cool. But I don't know if I would have known about that had I not been a photographer.
Yeah, because that got you into the industry.
Yeah.
So if there was another style of photography that you could do, or that you'd love to do, is there another style of photography out there that you would really think, actually, I could really get my teeth into that, like landscape or street photography, or just another style that you think, I really think I would love that?
No, I think I'm doing exactly what I'm meant to be doing.
That's a good answer.
I really enjoy being with people and in being involved with people. I've done a lot of product photography as well, because if you're shooting catalog work for Quicksilver or Roxy, a lot of the times you shoot flat packs as well. And if they're listening to me, please understand that I really appreciate the work and I don't want that to go away. But the flat packs and the actual shooting only products, I really like working with people. So yeah, it's not really something that I'd like to do. And I have a very close friend of mine who shoots landscapes.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, sitting out there by yourself, not being around people, waiting for the specific moment to happen, that's not for me. I need to be around people and I need to interact with people and I like being involved in a team.
Yeah.
So I like being involved in the fact that when you're on a catalog shoot or a wedding, there's a team of you involved to create a final product and yeah, landscapes and no thanks. No.
So do you find as a photographer that you're still constantly learning and evolving as a photographer?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
And I think that as soon as you think that you know it all already, that's time to pack it up, because there's still so much more to learn. And it's not only about the photography side of things. I've been looking into psychology quite a lot lately, and looking at how you can portray your story, how you can tell your story through posing, through lighting, and then the psychological aspects of actually getting your client to sign on the dotted line. And I'm talking about things like neuro-linguistic programming, body language. I think it's really important that photographers become experts outside of their area of expertise, that don't focus only on photography. Look at other ways read books on marketing, read books on body language, all sorts of things that will then complement your business to enable you to have a successful business. Because there's so many photographers out there that are really, really good photographers, but aren't getting the work. And there are some photographers out there that are really, really bad and are getting the work. So it has to be a balance. It has to be a balance where your marketing and your work complement each other to get to the point where you've got a sustainable and profitable career.
Awesome. So I'm sure everybody's quite keen to know, as are we are, and everybody wants to know this. What kit do you use? Cameras, lenses.
What camera do you favour?
And do you really think that the kit you use is a really important part of what job you do as well?
Okay, so I'm a Nikon ambassador.
Yes.
So I shoot Nikon. And the cool relationship that I have with Nikon is every time a new camera comes out, I send the old one back to them and they replace that with a new one. So I'm always shooting with the latest gear, which is really nice for me. And I'm very happy and grateful to Nikon for putting me in that position. So at the moment, in my camera bag is the Nikon D4S. The D5 is coming, should be here by the time I do my Dubai wedding. And then the D750, which is actually just over here next to me, which is on the table, coincidentally.
They don't leave your side then, do they, your cameras?
So yeah, the D750. And then my go-to lens, 70 to 200, 2.8. Absolutely. You can take any lens away from me, but just not that lens. And then if you had to go on to other lenses, the 24-70 is essential. and pretty much after that are lenses that you could get that maybe a few prime lenses. I really like working with the 85 1.4, specifically for that fashion feel. A lot of fashion photographers like that focal length, and I think it works nicely, especially with the 1.4. It can shooting in low light is phenomenal. So yeah, so in terms of my camera equipment, that would be it. And then if you look at the I've actually got I can tell you a cool story here. Ben, please can you bring me that lens that looks really old on the table there? Yeah, thanks, Pops. Okay, so when I was a policeman, thank you. So when I was a policeman, I was given this lens. It's a 55mm macro lens from Nikon, and it's got the aperture on the outside.
Yeah.
All right, and it's totally manual focus. So I was shooting with a little point and shoot, and there was a journalist who said to me, like, "Why are you shooting with a compact camera with a point and shoot?" I said, "Well, this is all the cops had. This is what the cops gave me."
Yeah.
So he said, "No, you can't be shooting with that." And he gave me a Nikon F3, the film camera with the.
Yeah.
And I've still got that. It's in the cupboard somewhere, so I've still got that. And my macro lens, my go-to macro lens is this one, and I keep it in my bag.
Ew.
And I've had, because I really believe that you need to remember your roots. And every time I open my bag and I see this, I think, okay, don't get too big for your boots. Remember where you came from. You were a policeman in the riot unit back in the day. So just remember your roots, and hopefully that keeps me grounded. So yeah, that's my macro lens. And then in terms of lighting, the Elinchrom Quadra kits, as well as the Ranger RX, the bigger flash strobes, I use those for location. I think that the Quadras are amazing in terms of the amount of light that they give off, and the portability and the versatility.
Sure.
And I've just received the new Elinchrom HS Skyport, which is the Hypersync Skyport, where you can shoot flash at 1/8,000th of a second.
Wow,
which
that
is
makes
crazy.
a huge difference on those brighter days.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. So you can shoot at pretty much 2.8 and get that sort of off-camera flash look without having to go to f16 or f22. So yeah, that's I use that. And then for low light conditions, the Tiffin Lowell, the GL1, the one that looks like a power
the drill
tool.
kind of.
Yeah.
I've seen you use that.
That works really nicely. Yeah. I have an ice light as well. Oh, here we go. So Ben, thank you, Ben. So Ben went and got the F3. Thanks,
Blast from the past.
Look how scratched it is.
This was a photojournalist's camera, and he gave it to me after having, he was shooting for Newsweek. And so he gave me this lens. It's a 135 portrait lens, and still got that, and that's what he gave me. So I'm pretty stoked that I still got that.
It's great that you still got it all.
Yeah,
as well.
that's really cool.
I actually use it for props in some, because it looks so old and retro.
Yeah.
I use it in props if I'm doing a shoot where you need like an old camera or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, so in terms of the lighting, the Manfrotto LEDs, the Manfrotto sort of, they're about this size. Depends on what you're shooting. So the ice light, I've got one of those. That's pretty much about it in terms of my camera gear and the lighting that I use. I also would like to take this opportunity to let people understand and let people think about the concept of renting. You don't necessarily have to buy your gear. I mean, the new D5 is an incredible piece of equipment, and it's a great camera. But I think it's coming in at $6,999 or something like that, $6,000 or £6,000, or it's a lot of money. And I think that it makes financial sense to rent until it gets to the point where it doesn't make financial sense to rent. It's just like buying a house.
Yeah.
Rent until you can afford to buy, or rent until it makes sense that now you need to buy because you're spending too much money on the rental side of things.
So a bit of a technical hitch there. I'll edit that out.
That's okay.
That's fine.
Okay, so we were talking about renting equipment. And I really think that what photographers should do is work out what gear they need for that specific shoot and go and rent it for the day. And, if you're renting equipment for the weekend for a wedding, shoot on a Saturday and then get something else to shoot on a Sunday and take the gear back on the Monday. If you become really busy, then go and buy equipment. But, it's a huge investment up front. Take that money, invest it into education, invest it into marketing, get a really cool website, that kind of thing, before you go and you buy your camera equipment. And I just think that people need to start thinking like that as well,
Yeah, that's cool. It's a bit of an alternative way of looking at it, but it actually does make quite a lot of sense when, camera gear has such a massive outlay, especially if you're going for the higher end gear.
Yeah.
But, you really want the clients to be able to shoot to make that worth the money, I guess. So,
Yeah. And also, if you're renting, you have access to the latest gear.
Yeah.
If you go and have, if you go and buy your camera and a year later a new model comes out, it's not so easy to sell yours, and now you're going to go and buy a whole new, So I think that renting is a really cool way of, if you're doing this professionally, if you want a camera because it's a hobby, of course, go and buy a camera. But I think in terms of a profession and a career, it is important to have the best gear possible for that specific shoot, because you don't ever want to be in a position where you're using a camera that's more entry level and you have focusing issues, or you can't shoot in low light or something like that, and it's like you blame my gear. Can't be blaming your gear, because there are options available to you. Sure. So I just think that people need to look at different ways of running their business.
Awesome.
It's a good idea, actually. So changing the subject slightly,
Yeah.
you said that you've already mentioned it, but I did know you were going to the photography show.
Yes.
And that's at the NEC, isn't it? When is it? In a few weeks, isn't it?
20-something of March, 22nd?
Yeah, second to last weekend.
Yeah.
So are you talking both days?
Yeah, I've got quite a busy schedule. I'm speaking 4 times in one day.
Wow.
So what subjects are you talking on? Just general.
Well, I'll be at the Tiffin stand talking about the Lowell GL1, but that's more looking after my sponsors. And then on the main stage, talking about shooting in low light. And then that's at 12 o'clock. 3:15, I think it is, speaking about posing. And I think that's quite an interesting topic, especially in England, because there's quite a big negative connotation about posing. And you've heard it before, many other photographers saying that posing is not bad, bad posing is bad. So, it's really looking at understanding how you need to look at a situation and see if intervention is needed in terms of direction for posing to create an image that has the desired effect in terms of getting to your subject, to your viewer. People, if they're not so demonstrative, here you are trying to shoot an image where it's supposed to portray them being in love, and society says that you're supposed to be close and heads together and cuddling and all that kind of thing. And if you don't do that naturally, then you need guidance from your photographer. And there's subtle things like just tilting the head a different way could imply something different. And I'm just going to help people understanding how posing your subjects makes such a difference to your imagery. So I'm talking about that. And then I'm talking at the Nikon stage about children portraiture, photographing families and children, not newborns. I'm not really into that. It's more about the family side of things, photographing kids and looking at a business in that area as well. So yeah, that's it. I think that's 4 for the day.
So just going on to the subject of families and things like that, do you find it quite difficult to juggle your professional life with your family life? Bearing in mind you travel over the globe.
It is a challenge. It is a challenge. If I'm shooting in a destination that my wife Andrea would like to go to, then I take her with as well as my assistant, and I don't get an assistant on that side. But if it's somewhere that I've been to before, or if she has to look after the boys who are at school and she can't make it, then then I find an assistant there. Often we've tagged holidays onto the end of the job, so I'm being flown there anyway. So I would tag a holiday onto the end of that, but it is a challenge. It is a challenge, and I think that be this a warning to other photographers who are shooting 50, 60, 70 weddings a year. It's a major sacrifice. So you really need to ask yourself, is it worth it? Yeah. And you do find, and I mean, I've changed my strategy, so it doesn't affect me that much anymore. You do find that in your life stage that you have, when you are 25, 26, and you don't have a mortgage, kids, a family, then your priorities are different. So you can go traveling wherever you want. You can shoot weddings for cheaper prices because you don't have those overheads. Perhaps you're still living at home. But when you get to growing up and you understand that you actually have to make a career and a living out of this, then you do tend to reassess how much sacrifice it is, and is it really worth it? So, yeah, it is definitely a challenge. But there are some periods which are more busy than others. I mean, February in general, everywhere in the world is quite quiet. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the times I would take a holiday during February, or I'll just be at home, and I'm not saying that makes up for the time that I'm away, but it does kind of, this is my normality, so I don't really know anything else.
Yeah.
It's just about trying to find that balance, I guess, isn't it? Between.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're just wrapping up now. So what do the next 5 years hold for Brett Florens?
What are we going to see from you?
What we're gonna be seeing?
5 years.
5 years. Okay. The education side of things, I'm really enjoying. This year, I'm doing. I think it's 5 or 6 3-day workshops, kind of around the world. London, Manchester, and then I'm looking to do one in Oman. Just up, it's a small country just on the other side of the United Arab Emirates. Because I've done Dubai sort of 5 years in a row now, and the partner that I work with in Dubai, we're looking to expand to perhaps go into Oman and more of the Middle East. And from the education side of things, I'd really like to get into more in-depth education where I'm making significant differences to people's careers, because there's so many talented people out there that would benefit from my experience of 25 years in the industry. So yeah, the education side of things is definitely going to be quite a big part of what I do. I'm enjoying writing the books. I'm enjoying producing the DVDs. And in terms of the high-end weddings, I only need to shoot 15 a year. I don't want to shoot more than that. Because, I mean, the amount of energy and effort that I put into each one it's ridiculous. It's as if you're working 60 weddings a year anyway, but I just have a bit more time off because, I mean, each wedding is approached as if it's the only wedding that's ever happened. For the engagement sessions, I do things like mood boards. We have consultations with the bride talking about what she expects. I know that other people do this, but I go a little bit further into it. The wedding that I'm doing in Dubai at the end of this month, the bride gets 16 albums. Wow. So each album is custom made for the recipient. Wow. So each bridesmaid gets their own album of their experience of the day, and each groomsman does, and then each parent, so, well, not each parent, her parents and his parents, the grandparents, and it's really tailor-made and bespoke with them in mind. So each bridesmaid will get their own album, and it'll be like there'll be a personalized message in the beginning. Dear Stephanie, it's just so nice to have you as my bridesmaid. Thank you for being there for me. We've been friends since we were 6 years old. All my love, Sarah. And it's about your experience of the day. So there would be a big picture of you on this side of the page with all the bridesmaids getting ready on that side of the page. And it's the same thing happens with each groomsman and each bridesmaid. And if I'm doing that for each wedding, then you can't be doing that. You can't be doing 30 or 40 weddings a year. So yeah, each wedding is really bespoke specifically for that client. So yeah.
Well done.
10 to 15 really nice destination weddings a year would be pretty cool. I've become quite involved with the Nikon school.
Yeah.
So teaching and also, this is going to sound strange, but educating educators. I've just proposed a lecture to the SWPP. I speak there every year. I've just proposed a lecture to them, a super class. I don't know if they are going to accept it or not, but it's one called So You Think You Can Teach. And it's basically educating people who want to go into teaching and to constructing workshops, educating them on how to facilitate a workshop, the logistics involved, the content, understanding what your clients want out of it, all that kind of thing. So yeah, teaching teachers is something that I'm quite interested in doing as well. Yeah, and then if anything comes, I've started another company called it's specifically for the European market. It's called Mind Team Photo, where I photograph sports teams, but they shot each kid is shot individually, and then a composite is made to do the sports team, and yeah, it's a bit of an American concept, and I'm hopefully going to make quite a big impact in Europe with that. It only launched 2 weeks ago, so yeah, I don't really know how it's going to take off here, because it is quite American, and Europe and America, as much as they are similar, they're different, So yeah.
Well, we wish you the best of luck with that new
That's
venture.
like hot off the press.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Heard it here first.
So let everybody know, where can everyone find your updates, news about you? Where should they go online to have a look?
Well, the best place would be on brettflorens.com, and that's Florens with an S, not with a CE. It's not like the city; it's like the money. There was a coin called the florin.
Right.
So that's.
So you're like the coin.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to. Yeah, and then obviously on social media, I'm quite active on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and it's basically Brett Florens. I don't have anything fancy on those platforms. So just Brett Florens. I'm really enjoying Instagram lately. I think it's definitely something of the future. So yeah.
I've just started doing Instagram, but I'm getting a new phone with a better camera.
Okay.
I'm no photographer. I'm just not great at that.
Yeah, this is where Nikon want me to push the fact that you can get your images straight onto your phone with the Wi-Fi app, with the Nikon Wi-Fi app. So you don't need a fancy camera. You need the Wi-Fi app on your fancy phone.
I need a fancy phone first.
Awesome. So last question then. What would be your advice to eager photographers, or anyone else for that matter, who is wanting to become a full-time photographer? What would you advise? What advice would you give that person?
It's such boring advice.
It's okay.
Okay, go to business school first.
Oh.
Don't worry about being a photographer.
It's so true though, that's what you've just said.
Learn how to run a business. Really, it's so important that you learn how to run your business before you get into this, because what happens is you just fumble your way through it, making so many mistakes, and by the time you realize all your mistakes, you've set a precedent, and you can't get out of the fact that you've got the same type of clients over and over again, and you're dealing with the same issues over and over again. You see it in forums all the time. It's the same questions and the same things that people are dealing with. And like, I look at that and go, I'm not dealing with any of that. Why is that? And it's because I run my business like a business.
Yeah.
You know, you have, it's so strange. You've got people who were accountants who want to become photographers, and they'll come on a workshop of mine, and I'll say to them, like, so how much do you charge? And they'll be like, oh, I charge £1,500. So how did you come up with that figure? No, well, I looked in my area and I saw that there was one photographer charging this much, and then there was another photographer charging that much. So I thought I fit somewhere in the middle. So this is how much I charge. I'm like, you're an accountant. You're an accountant, and that's how you came up with how much you're going to be charging. It's ridiculous. So yeah, look at running your business like a business. The photography side of things, you should know how to shoot. So, you know, you shouldn't try and become a photographer if you don't know how to shoot. Learn your craft first, and then before you launch your business, you've got to understand that it is a business. And, you know, trying to enter the market on price is the biggest mistake ever. All of this free work that's being done by so many people, it's just, you know, it's such short-term thinking. And I really just think that, go to business school, learn how to run a business before you, you know, and people expect it to happen overnight.
Yeah.
And they expect, it's like, you know, go and study, go and give your business 3 years before you launch. Like, it's as if you're going to university, where you understand how the industry works, and you understand how, but people just pick up a camera, suddenly they're a photographer, and, you know, in 6 months' time they give up, or a year's time they give up. You know, it's not an overnight, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Yeah.
You know?
It really isn't.
No, it's not, and it takes a lot of hard work, and it's consistent. It's you know, it's all-encompassing. It's a lot of effort and a lot of energy, but it's worth it. It's worth it if you stick to it, and if you teach people how to treat you. I think that's also important as well. You know, in terms of making sure that people respect you as a person and as an artist.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Will.
Yeah, thank you so much for
absolutely,
this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cheers for obviously giving us all your time. I'm sure you're very, very busy, so we really, really appreciate
and
you.
showing us your cameras.
Yeah. And giving us a little glimpse into the world of Brett Florens. So we'll put all the links in the description below.
Cool.
So if anybody wants to check you out, they can just click on there. And thank you so much. And
we'll send you the link as well, so you can watch yourself.
Brilliant. All right. Yeah. It was really cool chatting to you. There's a nice vibe about you. You guys are really happy, and it's cool. It's really nice speaking to you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Brett. Cheers, Brett.
All
Take
right.
care now. Bye-bye.
Bye. Cheers.